Hello friends! Today I want to show you how I usually draw mermaids in the simplest way, starting from the base structure, which is made by the head, the rib cage, the tail and the fins, and of course the hair. So I want to go into depth when it comes to these three parts in particular, that are the rib cage, the tail and the fins, that I think are the most important when it comes to the poses. So when it comes to the rib cage, I usually draw this kind of trapeze, a rounded trapeze shape, and I put these two small ovals on top of the private parts of the mermaid. You can put shells or you can put a shirt on top. You can do whatever, but I really like putting this kind of ovals that are more like shells in my opinion, but not that really shells. I don't know. However, what I suggest you is to practice drawing the rib cage in different poses and from different points of view, like the front view, the profile view, the three-quarters view, but also from up and down. I think the rib cage is a very important part of the pose, and I usually start drawing the rib cage and then the whole body, but you're going to see this later. And when it comes to the tail, I want you to think of it like it was a cylinder, like the mermaid was cut into parts and you could see the interior part. And you could also add some lines to highlight the volumes because I usually don't like to draw just triangles as tails. I want the tail to be like a very 3D shape with a lot of volume, a lot of curves because it moves a lot. So you have to add a lot of flow and movement through curves. And in general, I think the tail is very important because it gives the direction of the pose. In the end, when it comes to fins, you can choose among different shapes. I usually use this leaf shape, as I call it, and I never draw the two fins with the same dimensions and the same shape because I always think about perspective, and this is the reason why one of the two fins is thinner and more elongated. And I do the same with the more pointy shape and with a more sophisticated curved shape. Anyway, you can choose the shape that matches your style the most and go with it. And now we're going to go from the base structure to some more interesting poses. And for making the pose interesting, I suggest you to go with some C curves or S curves. These are like the base of the pose and indicate the direction and the movement of the pose. So what I do on these curves is putting two dots, one for the rib cage and one for the tail. And of course, the rib cage will occupy a very small part of the curve, while the tail is very, very long. And I connect the rib cage with the tail with a belly, of course. Then I put the head and the hair, and this is like what I do the most. But as you'll notice later, the C curves will give you more rigid and static poses rather than the S curves. This is like a common knowledge among artists. And if you've never used the curves, I suggest you to start doing this exercise because you'll find it very useful for the poses. You have already a base from which to start drawing your mermaid. And in this case, I'm drawing everything from imagination and just with a fountain pen. This is the reason why everything is so ugly and incorrect. But anyway, I just want to warm up and show you how to draw simple mermaids with simple shapes and not adding too many details. So here I'm drawing a mermaid on the S curve. As you can see, the S curve is not so S like the letter, is a bit more like flowing and the curves are less accentuated. But anyway, there's a little more movement in this kind of curve, and I want to show you in detail how the ribcage and the pelvis act in this kind of pose. So keep in mind that the rib cage is made of bones and therefore is rigid, is not flexible, and so you can't bend it. And the same goes for the pelvis or the basin, but the only part that is flexible and that you can twist is the belly, so the part that connects the rib cage and the pelvis. And this is the only part you can really bend, and you can use it to follow the S curve. So here I'm drawing a mermaid again on the S curve, but this time I don't follow the whole curve. I just use it like an indication, a general indication of the pose and of the direction, and I go from there and put the pose that I have in mind, which is a sitting pose. And as you can see, the belly is very bent, and this is what I was trying to show you before. So from now on, you'll see me drawing a bunch of curves and mermaids, and I want to tell you what is the most difficult part for me when drawing bodies, and that is placing the head and the neck in the right position. I know it should be easy because you have to place them in the center of the rib cage, but I don't know why every time I draw them, I get them wrong at the first try. So using a fountain pen helped me a lot, being more aware of where I put my strokes, and also I thought a lot before adding the head on the bodies. Anyway, I want you to take the Mermaid Challenge as an opportunity to come up with new ideas, explore new poses from your imagination, and overcome the fear of failing at anatomy and proportions, because with mermaids, there aren't such rigid rules when it comes to anatomy. You can draw whatever tail you want, whatever hair, and fantasy hands, fantasy ears, so you can be more spontaneous and go with the flow. In the end, you'll see me drawing a mermaid in my traditional and standard method, and that is starting with a pencil and then going on top with the ink. And of course, this is easier because I can correct anything I want, I can correct the proportions and the body, but I want you to do the first exercise with a pen because it really helps you to warm up and be more spontaneous and don't think about details and the perfection. But of course, you can draw with a pencil and still follow the rules I said before, that is the curve, the S or C curve, and then drawing on top the rib cage and the tail, and so on and so forth. I don't have a lot to say about this. I think that I've said everything I wanted to say in this video, but I want you to write me in a comment if you find this video useful, if you participate to the Mermaid Challenge, what you find difficult drawing in a body, and overall, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for being with me this week. I'm waiting for you for the next video next week, and meanwhile, I wish you a great time. Bye!